Hello, everybody. My name is Katie Sprague, and I'm one of the education specialists at the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County. Today, we're going to be continuing our virtual trek along the educational signage of the Butterfly Loop Trail. Be sure to like and share this video and post in the comments where you're watching from. If you've missed any of the other videos, you can check them out on our Facebook page. Most people don't know that the SWA has trails on its property. Today, we're going to take a closer look at one of the educational signs on the Butterfly Loop Trail. Now, the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County began operations in 1975, and we are the local government agency that's responsible for managing the county's waste. This includes garbage, recycling, home hazards, and even your biosolids, or your number 2. In the 1980s, when they were originally siting to build the landfill, they discovered an endangered species, the Everglades snail kite, roosting in the area. So if you look at this picture, the current location of the landfill is on the left-hand side. They were originally going to put it over here. But when they discovered that endangered species, we wanted to make sure to protect it. So we turned about 300 acres into a wildlife preserve, and the Greenway Trail system was created there. So you can come out and hike, bike, walk, run on our trails. They're open to the public. And on our Butterfly Loop, we have educational signs. So you can learn a little bit more about the nature that's around you. Today's stop is called Wildlife Detectives. It's all about searching for evidence of animals. When you're outside, you might not actually see animals because they tend to run away or camouflage themselves to hide. Some animals are also nocturnal, which means that they're more active at night and sleep during the day. Can you think of some examples of nocturnal animals? Type those in the comments for me. However, if you know what to look for, you can spot evidence that animals are all around you. What can we consider evidence of animals? Things like tracks, trails, nests, scratches, and even scat or poo and sounds around us are all evidence that animals are around. So we can see here some pictures of different evidence of animals. We start at the top. We have some tracks here. You can see on the lower side of the picture that they're kind of deep and they look like hooves, right? These are deer tracks. There are some other things that we might see here that can be considered evidence of animals. In the back, we have an anthill. So that's a home for an insect. So that is also evidence of animals. In the picture at the bottom, we see some eggs. Those are turtle eggs. Again, we're not seeing the actual animal here. This is evidence of them, and soon, hopefully, they will hatch and produce new little turtles. Over here, we have scat, the poo. Now, what kind of animal do you think this might belong to? Some of you might have an animal at home that is closely related to this animal. If you have a house cat, our bobcats out on the trails are a relative, and that's what this scat comes from, the bobcat. You might also be able to tell various things about the animals from the evidence they leave. You can tell where they live, what they eat, and maybe even the things that have happened to them. So if we take a look at this picture here, what do you think happened? There are a bunch of feathers around. Maybe a predator came and attacked a bird, right? That's a possibility. Or maybe there were a couple of birds here fighting over food and they got into a battle. Different things could have happened, but we see our evidence that our birds were in this area. And these white feathers here belong to an egret. You probably have seen those around. Those white birds, they're pretty common here in Florida. Another thing I mentioned that can be evidence of animals are sounds. So if you're really still when you're outside, you start listening to what you hear. And you might hear bird calls like the sandhill crane, which I'm going to play for you. Have you heard that sound before? Those are sandhill cranes, and we see them a lot around Florida, even in the cities and around the suburbs, maybe in your yard, pecking at the bugs in the grass, right? So these are all great ways to identify evidence of animals. And there are many apps that you can use to track and identify animals. And if you're really interested in this kind of thing, you can do something called citizen science. That is keeping track of animals and reporting it so that scientists can track the populations and the different behaviors. So I would suggest that you keep a wildlife journal. Pick a location outside, could even be your backyard, and just sit and figure out what kind of evidence or even what animals you might see around you. Don't forget to include insects and birds. One of the questions you might want to ask yourself is, do you see different animals at different times of the year? Why might that be? We always want to remember to stay safe around wildlife. Look and don't get too close, and definitely don't feed wild animals. They may get too comfortable around humans and become dangerous. And then they might also not know how to feed themselves if the humans go away. Be sure to follow @Solid Waste Authority on Facebook and tune in next time as we continue our virtual trek through the Butterfly Loop Trail sign.